In the last episode, the Kingdom Festival officially begins, where Master Yalu tells Martin to get ready because his students would not come back alive. So continuing with the story. Xiang Yi goes through the door and he realizes that there is a lake called the Lake of Sound. This girl explains to him that it is called like that because if a person yells in the edge of the lake, it creates an echo that lasts longer than the average Leno, also known as tolls. Renz gets close to Isabella asking her if she wants to get through the lake with him, but she goes to where Xiang Yi saying that she would find a way to get across with her husband. Xiang Yi says that he has an idea to get through the lake together, making Renz angry because he says that he doesn't respect married women. All the students start to cross the lake, and while all of them were getting far away, the Forge class awaits for Xiang Yi to build something so they could get through the lake. Xiang Yi builds this yacht named Mar, and this girl says that why doesn't he teleport objects he already created, and Xiang Yi says that when forging, he does not need to draw very well what he wants to build since the forge depends on the forger's thought, so if he has a boat sketch, then he could create any type of boat with the same drawing. The girl starts to flirt with Xiang Yi, and his partner called Moto says that he shouldn't tell his secrets to his rivals. Xiang Yi says that he shouldn't worry, and in that moment, he could see that Isabella was angry, and when she notices that he saw her, she turned her head so he couldn't see her like that. The other girl introduces herself as Ixa and asks him a favor to take her and his partner because his giant cat didn't want to get into the lake because it's fearful of water. Moto was against taking them because they were rivals, but Ixa says that if they help them, she would return the favor to everyone in the Forge class. They all agree, and they got ready to cross the lake. On the other hand, the spectators were watching the students, and then we see Martin, who was worried about what Yalu said. Going back to the festival, Xiang Yi manages to get across with some students with his yacht, surprising everyone because that boat was fast. The king was also surprised to see what Xiang Yi built, praising him because he thinks that he will be a great forger in the future. Sophises is happy to hear those words and to see that they were talking about Xiang Yi. Renz on the other hand was in first position, but suddenly some tentacle attacks, and I make a note here because this guy's real name is Eli, not Alex as we thought, so he rushes to save his partner who was captured by those tentacles. Once Eli gets to the surface, asks what that thing was, and in that moment a beast goes up. It was the protector of that lake, called the Void King. The monster starts to attack them, and everyone there start to attack it back. But none of the attacks worked against that monster. Renz angrily uses his magic and surrounds the beast with water, taking it into the sky so it couldn't interfere with him on his way, surprising everyone, showing how strong he can be. When the king saw that, he asked Sophises if Renz could become as strong as the regent in the future. Sophises is very honest and says that Renz is very strong, but he can't compare him with the regent because he is comparing a training field with a battlefield. On the other hand, Eli partners are apologizing for delaying him. But Eli didn't want to continue without them, and in that moment Xiang Yi appears, helping them, getting them into his yacht. They continue their way, and the Void King fells near to them with a color turned into red for how angry he was. Ixa explains that if the Void King gets red, it might become a Class S monster, so that's why she tries to stop it. Xiang Yi stops her. And together with the Forge class, they activate some devices giving the yacht a powerful minigun. Xiang Yi starts to attack the Void King, with the minigun surprising everyone for how powerful that weapon was. While they were attacking, the Void King asked to stop since they are hurting him, and Xiang Yi is surprised to know that it can speak human language, so the Void King transforms into a little boy who explains that his master ordered to participate in the festival, and Xiang Yi thought that he had a coin, so he asked him to hand it over. On the other hand, Renz manages to reach the other door where he finds 2 coins, and he went his way getting into the other door. Then the other students arrive, and they realizes that the first place will get 2 coins and the second will only get 1 coin, and as they thought that they couldn't beat Renz, they settle with that. Then Xiang Yi arrives, and he is happy for being able to get through the first round, where he got 2 coins after taking them from the Void King. Xiang Yi gives a coin to Isabella, but she didn't accept it because she wanted to get her own coins, so they all got into the next round where they found themselves into a burning forest. This was perpetrated by the regent's family, who set fire to the forest to summon the spirit of the forest to kill Xiang Yi by Yalu orders. On the other hand, Xiang Yi was on his way, and when he realizes that the fire was set intentionally, he asks himself who might have been. Then they found some twins fighting against spirits of the forest, who blames them for having intervened with the peace of the forest. Ixa helps them with her Magic and Eli along with Isabella cut the spirits into pieces, but they could regenerate because they have that ability. Xiang Yi tries to talk to them so they don't have to fight, but they didn't want to let them go because they thought they were responsible for the fire. Renz interrogates one of the spirits, and he tells that one of the humans started the fire. Renz was angry to know that there were people ahead of him that set the place on fire. On the other hand, the other managed to contain the spirits, and Isabella senses that there are people hiding, so she asked them to get out of their hideout. They say that they just arrived to the forest, and because of Renz they could not find anybody of their team. In that moment Eli feels a great amount of limit power getting close. So that's why all of them gets into fighting position. In that moment some roots start to get out from the earth and start to attack them, but Ixa protects them with her magic. Then from where the roots were, a monster called the Thorn Queen appears, which was a rank S. She starts attacking them and everyone attacks her back, but no attacks seemed to affect her. She was so powerful. Isabella starts to attack her, managing to distract her and then cutting her in half with her sword, with a combination of sword and magic, but the queen appears from the trees, attacking her on her back, but in that moment a big ball hits the queen's face, sending her flying far away. It was Nine Eye who helped them. He introduces himself, but the other make fun of him after hearing his voice, which sounded like a woman's, but after that they apologizes. Isabella asked how the queen appeared from the trees, and Ixa explains that the Thorn Queen relies on the tree's energy to live, so her tail is connected to every root, so she could extract her life power. Then the queen appears once again, starting a new fight. Xiang Yi knew that the other two were from the pastoral branch, so he asked them to heal his friends, and he would compensate in exchange. In that fight, the queen almost killed Xiang Yi's friends, but the forging branch intervenes with weapons created by Xiang Yi. Xiang Yi had bought some time, and he created another weapon even more powerful, and he starts fighting against the Thorn Queen. Then Isabella asks him to stop. She starts to release almost all of her limit power, surprising everyone because that limit power were the same as Ren's. Isabella starts to get close to the queen, saying that she finally remembered her. And once the Thorn Queen notices her limit power, she remembered the past when she was little and lived with Isabella in the demon tribe, but as she couldn't live in a place with so much magic, Isabella frees her, promising her to come back in the future when she could turn this place in a habitable one. When the Thorn Queen remembers her, she starts to cry out of happiness and she almost called her Demon Queen, but Isabella tells her not to reveal her identity. In that moment, the giant cat that could also talk and says that that dark limit power comes from the demon tribe, scaring everyone. When hearing that, Xiang Yi couldn't explain what was happening there, so Moto explains that they were demon slaves, so she might have learned that there. Xiang Yi started acting like he doesn't want to talk about the past with the demon tribe, but inside he was happy and thankful with Moto for intervening. Then Isabella arrives. She was talking with the queen and tell them that some people set fire to the place, but it wasn't Ren's, so it should have been other people who were ahead of Ren's, so with that they settled the misunderstanding. But since they didn't want to leave the forest like that, the twins put the fire out with their magic. The Thorn Queen apologizes for blaming them for everything, so she gives them 5 coins that she found around the forest as reward for saving the forest. Isabella gives them 2 coins. And the twins also handed over hers because they had no more limit power to continue, so these two, without doing almost anything, they got 2 coins as well. The others continued with the festival, and the Thorn Queen wanted to accompany Isabella, but she refuses because she must escape from the humans first. When that happens, she promised to get back and find her again, and she get happy. When they are at the door, they see that there is a coin there, which Eli ends up taking it after a game of rock, paper, scissors, but the girl that works for Angus takes it from him, and as they didn't want to get the coin back to him, Xiang Yi was about to start a fight with them, but Eli stops him, saying to leave it since he wants to get a coin by himself. On the other hand, the regent's family were fighting against some monsters, but they couldn't defeat them for how strong they were. In that moment Renz arrives, killing every monster and obtaining 3 more coins. And once he knew that they started the fire, he warns them. Going back to Xiang Yi, they were having trouble crossing the mountains from the next round because the wind was very strong. When walking, Eli accidentally steps on a trap, starting an avalanche on them, but the girl from the archery branch helps them and the others as well by stopping the rocks, but the rocks starts joining together, becoming giant golems, and as a gratitude gesture, Eli destroys the golems with his limit power, but all was for nothing because they end up regenerating themselves, creating a bigger golem that starts attacking Eli. The girl with the bow wanted to help him, But Yi stops her. Because that was an Eli's fight, since from that moment before when they taken his coin he remained cool, so he wants to see what his potential is when fighting, and in that moment they feel an enormous limit power coming from Eli, and he destroys the golem in a very epic way. Everybody is surprised by Eli's limit power, even Renz, who was pretty ahead of them, and with that Eli got various coins, but after using that attack his arm was damaged. Everyone who managed to see his power were surprised for how strong he was, even the ones that took the coins from him. After that they kept going, but some of them couldn't continue because they were too tired, so Nai uses one of his abilities to help them continue. After some time they reach the door where their Eli's friends decide to surrender and leave everything to him to win the festival. Eli says goodbye to his friends. But Yi was worried about Eli when he saw his arms, but Eli tells him to not to worry, that he could keep going. This girl didn't want to see him like that, so she grabs his hands and with her powers she heals them, making everyone else jealous, seeing how she was healing his wounds. On the other hand, Renz was a bit tired because of the big sun, as well as the regent's family. Suddenly they see some cars getting close, in which Yi with his group were in. They looked pretty fresh because of the iced windows Ascian made. When Buri sees that, he orders them to get him in. Yi along with the others makes fun of him, and they didn't obey, leaving them alone, and one of his relatives throws a slime to the car, which bothers them. After getting across the desert they reach the Crest Kingdom where almost everyone get coins. As Yi and everyone in the Forge branch were freezing, Yi built a helicopter to get across those crest faster. But Nai decides to keep walking because he wanted to test himself. Once everyone was inside, Yi turns the helicopter on, and they find Renz on their way, who was climbing the mountain with bare hands. Everyone asks why wasn't him using his magic to climb faster. And then Ixa realizes that something was wrong. In that moment the royal arena starts to fail. The projections are bothering the spectators since they wanted to keep watching the festival, and one of them explains that the students are in the absolute belt. He explains that being inside that site voids the ability to use limit power and how they would have to get through that round using only their core abilities. Since they could see the projections, they were bored for hours waiting to see who ends up finishing in first place in that category. Then they see someone getting out from the door. It was Nai, the one who continued by himself, surprising everyone, realizing that the cooking branch finished that round faster. In that moment, his coins gets out from him, and they join for a total of 30 points. In second place was Eli, and counting his coins he got a total of 40 points, and the people was surprised and seeing what he did before, everybody starts to support him to win the festival. The third place is for Renz, who broke the festival record by getting 100 points, and so everybody else were arriving one by one. Moto was sad and he arrived alone. Yi was getting Martin worried, and the others ask where Yi was. Buri says that he probably was dead, and Moto blames him. A worried Sophisis gets down to the arena asking Moto what happened to Yi, and he tells everything that happened. When they reached the top of the mountain in Yi's helicopter, Yi was about to dismantle his helicopter so nobody could copy that in the future, and in that moment the regent's family arrived. One of them takes a coin from Yi with a slime. Eli attacked him, but his limit power didn't work on that mountain. The regent's family start mocking them, but as Yi doesn't need limit power, he creates a rocket launcher, making the regent's family to get down. And after that a fight starts. But Yi tell the others to go on because the Forge branch has the advantage there since they didn't need limit power. Eli decides to leave everything into the Forge branch's hands because he also needs to help the others get across with his natural strength. Both sides were fighting and Buri had planned to kill Yi with his sword, but Isabella intervenes, sending him flying with a swing of her sword. Yi tells her go on and continue just like the others, but she didn't want to. She wanted to take Regent's family coins, and with that, everybody else manages to get to the final door. One family member creates a giant hammer and hits the floor, breaking it, making the whole Forge branch to fall into a pit. Isabella saved everyone, but when she was about to save Yi, she didn't realize that a big piece of ice was behind her, so Yi changes places with her to protect her, making the big piece of ice hit his head and losing his consciousness, and so both of them fell into the bottom of the mountain. When Eli heard that, he planned to start a fight, but Sophisis stops him, saying that if he does that he would be disqualified from the tournament. But Eli didn't care, he wanted to hit them, but in that moment Isabella gets through the Final door carrying Xiangyi, and after a bit she feels she was very weak. Ixa asks why. Did she get to the door carrying that useless, but she says that he is not a useless, that he is his husband, and before passing out, she asked them to give Xiangyi one of her coins. After that, the festival first category came to an end and all the 16 students that managed to finish that category are named. Xiangyi wakes up in the infirmary, where he is informed that from the forging branch, only he and Maud made it out to the next category. Xiangyi asked how Isabella was and they said that she recovered fast and she is now training fencing with Sophisas in the garden. When Xiangyi arrived he told her not to train that much since her wounds haven't healed completely, and when talking about how she helped him, Isabella says that she did it just because she wanted a weak rival for the next category, making Xiangyi angry for how she was treating him, and talking with these two, Sophisas say that he has to get ready since he would face the regents. Family in the morning, at first he was surprised, but then he decides to finish with them since they almost got him killed in the last round. The next day the second round begins, and it was combat. Some of them were surprised because the Forge branch got 2 students into the next category. A note here. The battles are long and cover many chapters, so I will sum up the most important parts, otherwise I would have to make a lot of videos for this manhwa. Moto was scared in a room because he never thought that he would be in the next round. Xiangyi asked him to calm down. Moto asks why is he so confident since he is going to fight against a regent's family member, and he answers that he is not afraid since he prepared everything to kick their asses. In the arena, Sophisas announces the combat presenting Bu Shai from the swordsman branch and Xiangyi from the forging branch. Once they entered the arena the battle starts. Xiangyi pushes him to the edge of the arena, making his creation explode and throwing him out of the arena. Xiangyi thought that he already won, but a slime starts choking him because Bu Shai didn't fell down completely after the explosion. Xiangyi uses one firestone, burning his slime, since that was its weakness, and he says that he found out what his weakness was in the past category since he used his slime everywhere but in the desert. With that being said, Xiangyi creates a special weapon for him, which starts surrounding him inside a sphere. Bu Shai tries to escape, but he couldn't because the top was made from red iron, and before all that when Bu Shai attacked him with the debris, he took advantage and he put dynamite inside, so a big explosion occurs inside the sphere, an explosion able to kill anyone. The king was afraid, but Sophisas say that losing a life inside the festival would not have any repercussion. Although Xiangyi won, he asks Sophisas to announce the winner, but in that moment Bu Shai destroys the sphere by activating his dragon shape when raising his power. In that moment the king explains that it is an ability passed down the family. When a kid is born is taken to the Lord of Dragons, who gives the baby dragon blood, obtaining dragon powers and becoming a hybrid, a dragon human. The king also has dragon blood inside him. In the battle, Bu Shai says that his slime is a dragon slime which once it consumes the user it becomes stronger. Xiangyi tries to damage him physically, but no weapon seemed to work, so Bu Shai thought that he was the winner of that fight. Xiangyi tells him not to be so sure about that because when destroying the arena he found the useless wood he had found before, and with that he locks Bu Shai up, creating a microwave. He tries to get out, but none of his powerful attacks could destroy the useless wood. Xiangyi started giving him a speech to everyone who made fun of him for not having limit power. He explains that useless wood is the hardest material in the world and the forging branch is the only one that can use it, making it a branch destined to be powerful. With all that he uses his brush with an electric stone to activate his giant microwave. Then we can see Xiangyi's past. He was very smart, he even received an offer for a position in Harvard. Being only 14 years old, this is the reason why he can create advanced technological objects. Because he is smart and he knows how things work from inside out. Bu Shai was asking for help inside that microwave because he couldn't hold that heat anymore, and also, his slime was devouring him in order to survive. When Yalu notices that he orders him to get him out, Xiangyi refuses because when they participated in the festival they got rid of them, and he didn't want to free him because he maybe get out alive, and then he would try to kill him. In that moment someone interrupts him. It was the academy director, called Basil, who saved Bu Shai's life since he is the one in charge of ensure safety and security of every student. As the fight was pretty exciting, he announces that Xiangyi was the winner of that fight, getting everyone excited. Xiangyi sees Isabella but she steps out and thinking that maybe she was mad. Basil told him to look for her. On the other hand, Martin confronts Yalu, saying that if he tries to mess up with his students again, he would not let him escape, but Basil intervenes, saying that he would not let the teachers fight. He asks Yalu to get rid of that dragon slime, since it is a very dangerous object, and ask Martin a favor to fix the arena for the next fight. On the other hand, Xiangyi is with Isabella, and he gives her a sword made of useless wood before her event starts. Before she goes, Xiangyi asks her about what happened in those snowy mountains and why when someone talks trash about him she always defend him, but just after she becomes cold with him, then he shouts that he wanted to understand her better. Isabella says that the priest who summoned him before said that he wasn't the hero who would save the demon tribe. Xiangyi says that he is very strong now, but Isabella angrily says that just by defeating a weak human being he shouldn't believe that he was very strong, as he wanted to know what happened before he passed out. She tells that day when they were falling and they could not save themselves from death, their hands started to shine, teleporting them into a dark room. There she found herself with the Void King and Basil, who already knew that she was the demon queen, alerting Isabella. In the last episode, Xiangyi wins the fight against a regent's family member, and then Isabella tells him that Basil knows that she is the demon queen. Isabella furious asked Basil, how did he know she was the demon queen, and Basil says that when Martin built the walls he then used a protection magic on them, so he knows who enters and gets out of the kingdom. He told her that he used to visit her house regularly, surprising Isabella by letting her know that he know her father. Basil told her that they stopped talking to each other when a subject merged, and they didn't agree with it because they had different points of view. Isabella asks him why did he became friends with his father if he was from another tribe, so he says that he doesn't see differences between tribes since every life was created the same, and she will feel the same when she gets to know the truth, since everything sees and surrounds them belongs to a big entity. Isabella doesn't get it completely, and knowing that she is the demon queen she asks him if he would let her continue studying in the academy. Basil says yes because he wanted to see if she can surpass her old self with her current form. Isabella starts to think that Basil might have other identity as well, since he already know her identity, and he doesn't seem to worry about that. She wanted to fight him, but after talking with him he made her feel insignificant as an ant. When Xiangyi hears all that he already knew that Basil knows that he came from another world, and Isabella says that since the festival is her only way out of the kingdom, she planned to win, and before she go, she told Xiangyi that from now on he could do what he wanted. In the arena, Sophices gets started. The second fight introducing Moss Faley from the magic branch and his giant cat known as General, and on the other side there is Nai from the cooking branch. Most believed that Faley would win, and even if he appears to be silly, he is one of the strongest specialists in his branch. After that, the fight begins. Faley started to prepare an ability while his cat starts attacking Nai to distract him, but when trying to damage it, he couldn't because his body was too hard. In that moment, Faley finished with his ability, absorbing a lot of energy from the sun, transforming his cat in someone very powerful and human-shaped. Nai starts throwing powerful and kitchen tools-shaped attacks, but after hitting him none of the attacks damaged him. The cat gets too close to Nai and starts struggling with him, and after realizing how powerful he was, the cat asks why does a chef has such power to fight. Nai says nothing, continuing fighting, and the cat almost throws him out the arena with one hit. In that moment he focuses on Faley who was about to throw a powerful attack with all the energy absorbed from the sun. After seeing that, Nai starts preparing a powerful defensive ability. Faley throws his attack hitting that defense, both of them starts to giving it all to see who could came on top, and after a while all the attacks explodes, leaving Faley exhausted since he does not handles that ability very well yet. Everyone is surprised to see that they destroyed half of the arena, and Moto asks Ixa what kind of magic Faley were using. She explains the different types of magic that exists, and the one Faley was using, he was an special student in that kind of magic. When Xiangyi sees that fight he got sad since Isabella told him the truth, saying that he is not that strong. If he would have fought Nai or Faley in the first round he would have lost, so after that fight, he would try to find the way to increase his potential so he wouldn't be left behind. Now in the arena, Nai managed to hold the powerful attack. Faley is surprised to see that he didn't win with that attack, so the cat starts fighting against Nai, damaging him with his claws. Nai uses a smoke grenade, but even with that, the cat was powerful and manages to damage him inside the mist with his speed. The cat was winning the fight, but suddenly he starts to behave weirdly, going back to his original form. Fei tries to get him back into it. Nai says that the smoke grenade was known as the cat herb, which made his cat lose its normal functions, but it wasn't dangerous. He asks him if he wanted to keep fighting, but Fei surrenders since not even him could keep fighting, surprising everyone because no one expected Nai to win. Then another fight begins, introducing Buri and Isabella, both from the same branch. When the fight begins, Buri tells Isabella to surrender, but she doesn't listen and start to throw powerful attacks one after the other, making Buri unable to counterattack. Everybody is surprised to see how much better got in so little time. Dorona was worried because she didn't want her to get out of control like that one time they were training. Isabella was about to give him the final blow, but he activates his dragon form, blocking her attack and saying to her to become his lover so they could practice fencing together. Isabella doesn't listen and she starts to throw some attacks, surprising Buri because even in his dragon form he could feel Isabella's big power. Buri starts to attack and she gets distracted for a bit and with his sword he throws at her a powerful attack, destroying half of the arena. Buri thought that he had won but not because Isabella used her Dragon Queen limit power to stop the attack, surprising Buri, and with just one movement, Isabella makes Buri go back. Buri was angry because she has so much power and he attacks her with the best he's got, but Isabella dodges it easily and reaching his arm as well, so now he wouldn't be able to continue as he was. And going back to his original form, everybody was so excited to see that Isabella won that thrilling fight, and when she was stepping out of the arena, Buri's brother rushes straight to kill her for what she just did, but the girl who works for Angus stops him, saying that if he is such a bad loser, then he better leave. Now the guy wanted to bully her, but Sophises makes him leave, saying that he would be disqualified if he stayed. That was the last fight of the day since they had to repair the arena for the next one. She says that it won't be necessary since her fight wouldn't take long, and Sophises introduces Penny from the archery branch and Tia Nuo from the druids branch. On the other hand, on the East Tribe settlement the Dragon Knights were executing beasts by order from Angus on a tree. Those guys were worried because once the humans dismantles the East Tribe settlement, they would move their border just in front of the orcs' border. Both of them are thinking that as long as Angus remains alive, all the tribes that lives in the Shu Luo plains would never be at peace. I forgot to tell you about that. And that is that in the Shu Luo plains is where all the recent tribes are. Going back to the festival, Penny kept her promise since Tia Nuo didn't surrender because she was near to death, surprising Shanji, who thought that she will be a worthy rival for Isabella. When he sees Isabella with Dorona, he asks himself what they could be talking about. Sophises announces that the day of activities have ended. That night Shang-Yi arrives to his room and he realizes that Isabella's things weren't there, so he goes to look for her. Once he did, he asks her why she left, and she says that she is going to live with Dorona so she could help her control her limit power, but Shang-Yi tries to stop her since her true identity might be revealed. Isabella says that he shouldn't worry about her anymore, leaving him alone in the hallway. The next day Sophises gets started the next fight, introducing Renz from the magic branch and Luntana from the archery branch. Luntana starts attacking, but those powerful attacks didn't work against Ren's defense, but she kept going, and after a while she breaks his defense. Ren starts to release some of his real power, making Luntana use her most powerful attack if she wants to win against him, but that attack only manages to scratch him. Luntana was scared, but she decided to keep fighting anyways, but Renz prepares a powerful ability, making the weather change. Luntana wanted to move, but her body was paralyzed. Even yet, she manages to throw an attack, but Ren stops it with just a hand. He suggests that she should surrender, but she says that she will continue. When hearing that, Renz gathers more power to finish it. When Shang-Yi saw the sky, he thought that he was going to summon a dragon, but Aixa says that it is not the case because that dragon form represents Ren's magic. She explains that magic is classified in wolf, tiger and dragon, to where that last one is the highest level. Back to the arena, Renz throws his dragon form attack, creating a big explosion, but she was saved by her master. And the others thought about surrender when their turn against him arrives. Sophises starts the next fight, introducing Eli from the combat branch and Miley from the pastoral branch. Shang-Yi decides to go because he knows that Eli would win. Eli was having trouble in the arena because he couldn't manage to hit one blow because according to Miley, he can't use the violence against her. Outside from the arena, Basil finds Shang-Yi and he teleported him to the library so they could talk privately. Basil told him that he could read people's thoughts since his power level was huge. When Xiang Yi hears that, he asks him if he would be able to take him to his world, and Basil says no because he can't do that with his limit power, but with Xiang Yi's ring he could go back. He explains that the stone the ring has is called the Infinite World Gem, which has an enormous amount of limit power in it, and it is extremely rare since only him and Isabella have one. Then he says that with that stone he can get him back to his world in that precise moment, surprising Xiang Yi, but he decides that not to go since he promised Isabella that he would take her back to the demon tribe as a queen and he wasn't planning to get back to his world until he fulfills that promise. When Basil hears that, he thinks about telling him what he didn't tell to Isabella when they both fell from the snow mountain. Basil says that she wanted to be with him to compete in the festival because they both promised to each other that they would overcome everything together. But Basil asked her if she was going to leave this world's future in Xiang Yi's hand, and she said yes because she was going to help him. Basil asked her what she would do when Xiang Yi gets hurt real bad when trying to help her, since he is not responsible for helping this world. She said that she didn't trust him before, but with time she saw how he pushed himself to protect her and help her, and since she didn't want him to suffer, she was planning to separate from him, but that would be after the first round, so after the snow mountain, she would keep away from him. After that, Basil sent her back to the snow mountain where with a lot of difficulty she made it through with him on her back so he wouldn't die in that place. Xiang Yi cries after hearing that because the reason Isabella wanted him away was for him to be safe. He was planning to tell Isabella that he already knew everything, but Basil told him to not because that would embarrass her. He says that instead of that he better find a better moment to tell her everything. Then they quickly get back to the arena where another combat had started. They see Moto, who was being massacred by Buri's brother. Basil stops the fight sending Moto to the infirmary, and standing tall he told Xiang Yi that he decided not to surrender. Xiang Yi congratulates him for that, but since Moto was in a very bad shape, they took him to the infirmary fast. Isabella was hiding, and she was afraid that Xiang Yi could end up like that. Xiang Yi was angry, and he asks how Moto's fight came so early, and Eli says that the two battles before that ended up so fast with Eli's and Ix's victory. That night Xiang Yi was thinking about what else he could do to keep improving, and in that moment someone knocks on his door. It was Renz, who asks him to talk once. Outside, Renz says that he already knows that he was a demon slave, and since he had progressed so fast he proposed the king that once he graduated he could join the army, but Xiang Yi didn't want that rank. He wanted the rank of mayor since he could get in and out the kingdom. Renz says that with that rank, he must be prepared to fight in any moment, so a forger would not be useful. Xiang Yi was angry and wanted to go. He didn't want to be underestimated just by being a forger, and also because Renz would be Xiang Yi's final opponent in the festival. Renz was angry too and says that if he goes to the festival tomorrow, he would not have mercy when they have to fight, but Xiang Yi laughs and says that he is not afraid to fight with him. He also says that the reason he is afraid because he have never lost, and he thinks he is the only one who could defeat him. Renz was furious, and he wanted to kill him, but Sophisis appears and stops him so he would not be disqualified, and before Renz goes Xiang Yi shouts that he will be the only one who defeats him. Then Sophisis takes him to another place and says that nobody in the forge branch have been able to use useless wood since it cannot be used for building. Martin tells that he tried to use it to forge before, but he couldn't, surprising Xiang Yi because he thought that only him had used it. Sophisis says that there are many legends of Xu Luo's plains, and one of them talks about the useless wood and says that Xu Luo's creator used a great amount of power to create all living creatures, but after spending so much power, he left the plains. The only remains of the ship he used to leave the plains were those pieces of useless wood, and then became the useless wood that we know today. Sophisis at the end says that the creator was the only one who knew how to use useless wood, surprising Martin, who thinks that Xiang Yi has a similar power the creator had. Xiang Yi says that he only knows the useless wood's properties, and he thought that maybe the creator of that world was the same who created the earth. In that moment he remembers that Basil told him that he must not reveal that he is a traveler from another world. Sophisis asks Martin if he had heard about the demos using the forge. Martin says no, since the demons have a huge limit power, but they called it magic power and they didn't care about forging. After some talking, they came to the conclusion that maybe Xiang Yi can defeat Renz since he can use useless wood. The next day the quarterfinals starts, and the first fight of the day is Xiang Yi against Nainai. Before the fight starts, Eli tells Xiang Yi to be careful because Nainai was very powerful. Then Ixa arrives and she was with Eli, who had been punished for what he did to Miley in the fight. Eli was mad that day for not being able to give her a punch, so with a bit of luck he manages to destroy Miley's illusion, which didn't allow him to hit her. She was scared and throws an attack that would keep him chained, while she activates her attraction ability to make Eli fall in love. This gets everyone nervous, even the teachers, but Eli was angry and destroys her charm with his limit power, and he didn't care about her being a woman, so he sends her flying with a slap. After that, everyone gets disappointed with him after hitting a beautiful girl twice without even thinking about it. Eli also calls her out because she also humiliated Billy when they fought. Before we continue with the story, don't forget to subscribe and like, since it's the best way to help the channel and also motivates me to keep going with the next chapter of this manhwa. When the competitor get into the arena, they surprised everyone, since none of them expected they would get so far. Nai starts attacking Shang Yi, who managed to block him, but Nai gets behind him with his quickness to end the fight fast, but Shang Yi activates a magic barrier, and he could do that because Basil told him that he could use magic by drawing glyphs and symbols. After the barrier, water comes out from it, making Nai go back. Everybody was in shock, seeing that he could use advanced magic being in the Forge branch since he has no limit power. Asus, who was in love with Martin, asked him about how Shang Yi can use magic since he is useless wood, and he says that he found out that a forger can use magic by drawing glyphs or symbols. Taking advantage of the magic that lies inside the gold alignment, by drawing the glyphs he could use any type of elemental magic, but that would deplete the alignment stones very fast. Destroying the glyphs with it and making it usable just once, Asus gets surprised because he would have to be rich to buy alignment stones every time, and Martin says that in fact he has a lot of money because he sold all the objects he created, being Deuteragonist's and Asus's figures the ones that gave him more money. After knowing that, they both wanted to kill Shang Yi because it was because of him that every man of the city looked at them every time. In the arena, Nai attacks Shang Yi again, but he manages to stop it and he activates an electrical magic attack, destroying Nai's weapons and also hitting him and making him fly. Shang Yi was happy for using magic, but also sad because they only work once. Nai could hold that powerful attack and starts attacking him, but Shang Yi kept sending him flying with every magic he created. In that moment, Shang Yi creates a special brush since he is going to use high-level magic, activating 3 glyphs at the same time, freeing 3 beasts from 3 different elements. Nai has no other option but to eat power pill, destroying 2 beasts and catching the fire one. Since a cook can bend fire, Martin asks Nai's master Mumu what did he eat, and he says that it is a power pill that promotes limit power. Nai attacks him, the fire beast, but he creates another elemental beast, making them fight and creating an explosion that leaves a smokescreen inside it. Nai was looking for a way to defeat Shang Yi fast, so he could not create another beast, but Shang Yi creates another extremely powerful beast copying Last Ren's attack. Dorona gets surprised for everything Shang Yi's got, but Asus tries to disgrace him, saying that was just external power. Shang Yi tells Nai to surrender since he didn't want to hurt him, but Nai refuses, saying that they were in a battle and Shang Yi decided to continue with the battle. He attacks. Nai creates various barriers to defend himself, but they didn't work because the elemental beast destroys it with an explosion that hits Nai. He was lying on the floor and Sophises was about to announce the winner, but Mumu stops him because Nai didn't give up. He was pretty injured, but he gets into his feet to keep fighting, and Mumu tells the story about Nai. He was abandoned when he was a baby in Mumu's restaurant front door, and 10 years later he was cooking, but he couldn't do it well. He was sad because times passed and he couldn't cook anything well, so one day he ran out the restaurant and Mumu went after him and saw him crying because he was having a bad time, and he also had a woman-like voice, so people didn't like his food. Mumu calmed him, saying that maybe cooking was not his talent, maybe becoming a powerful fighter was it, and with that he managed to calm him, and now he wants to change people's perspective about chefs by becoming a chef who can fight, so he would participate in the festival to fulfill that, and the reason he doesn't give up is because they want everyone to recognize him as chef. Shang Yi helps him, saying that he respects him as a chef, but Nai pushed him, saying that he is not worthy because he doesn't know how to do anything, so Shang Yi puts a Marichan out and gives it to Nai to eat it, and after that he lies on the floor after tasting something so delicious. Nai thinks that now Shang Yi also beat him at being a chef, but when he was getting him up From the floor, he says that anyone can be a chef as long as they have a heart, so he shouldn't let his existence define who he is. As a person he can be anything he wanted. After that, Nai goes to his master and he asks him if he is a chef, and Mu with a big smile says that he is a very good chef. Nai cries out of happiness to see that his master recognizes him as a chef, and he thanks Xiang Yi for helping him, promising that he would come back stronger in the future, whether cooking or fighting. After that, Sophices announces the winner and presents the next fight. Eli against Buri's brother called Buno. Basil asks Mike who is the strongest, and he says that they both are, but Buno should be stronger. On the other hand, Ixa congratulates Xiang Yi for winning, and when he meets with Isabella, he says that maybe he gets to fight her if he wins the next fight against Eli. Isabella says that she is not sure about Eli winning against Buno, since Buno is not weak as his brothers, since she felt a powerful limit power. In the arena, Buno was happy because he finally would be able to fight against a powerful person. Eli was happy as well because he was going to fight someone of the same branch, and after all that, the fight begins. In the last chapter, Isabella starts to distance from Xiang Yi to protect him, and he manages to defeat Nai, getting into the semifinals. In Buno's and Eli's fight, Buno attacked first, hitting Eli with a strong blow, but Eli blocks it, but the attacks was so powerful that numb his arm. Even yet he continues with the fight, surprising everyone because these two participants were stronger than the last year's ones, and the king asks Sophices who won last year, and he says that his NCO won. In the arena, Eli throws a powerful attack, but Buno dispels his ability quickly, surprising Eli because he never though he was powerful. Xiang Yi is feeling bad about the limit power emerging from the arena. Isabella tries to help him, but Ixa gets ahead and helps him. Getting Isabella sad, Buno hits Eli, sending him flying because he was distracted taking Buno though he had won, but suddenly he feels a strong pressure and he realizes that it was Eli who was using his limit power with his arms, hitting Buno so hard that he destroys most of the arena. After that attack, Eli had his arms damaged and Buno gets out from the debris transformed into his dragon form, and with one beating of his wings he makes Eli go back, surprising him because he never though his dragon form was so powerful. Buno starts making fun of Eli, but Eli uses his limit power and attacks many times, but it doesn't work because Buno was stronger, sending Eli flying. With just one blow, Buno starts stepping on him, aggressively avenging his brother's defeat, but then Eli stops his foot with one hand. Eli uses a very powerful ability that he planned to use against Renz, but seeing that he was so powerful he had no other choice but to use it against Buno. Buno was a bit scared and planned to attack Eli, but he pinches him with a very powerful wave, making all the fire expands through Buno's body. Eli explains that this fire comes from his limit power, so it can't be put out with normal methods. Basil asks Mike why did he taught him such a powerful technique, and Mike says that he didn't taught him that. It was Eli who managed to dominate alone after he learned the fire ability. Mike decides to go since he already knew that result. Back in the arena, Eli suggests Buno to give up, but he keeps attacking. Eli dodges them all easily, and Buno angrily throws his most powerful attack, but Eli with his fire ability destroys the attack with a big explosion. After the smoke goes away, he sees Buno injured, who passes away after receiving the attack. Eli also passes away for using that ability, getting also bowled by that. Xiang Yi gets down to the arena to help him and announces him as the winner, getting Eli happy but also sad because he wouldn't be able to participate in the festival anymore because of that ability he used. After that, Eli is taken to the infirmary where Miley heals him, and Eli apologizes for that hit in the fight. On the other hand, Sophices announces the next fight, introducing Penny and Isabella, where they both start attacking to each other with normal but powerful attacks. Penny transforms his whip into a rapier and starting to attack Isabella, but she dodges her attacks, and when she attacks her back, she manages to reach her, injuring Penny a bit. After that, Penny raises her power and starts to attack Isabella with more power. Isabella is surprised because she seems like another person, a very powerful one. Isabella uses her Demon Queen limit power, starting to massacre Penny with many blows until she hits her with the final one, but Penny stops her attack with one hand, and like a crazy, she wanted to fight with her for real to see who die first. Isabella throws various attacks, but this time was Penny who injured her with some attacks that were starting to damage her. She starts to remember all the bad things that happened in the past, making her angrier and obtaining more Demon Queen power, worrying Xiang Yi for what it could happen. Basil is also worried So he creates a barrier surrounding the arena, and every master can feel Isabella's limit power as something very different. Dorona says that Isabella is getting limit power overcharge, but he interrupts her, saying that Isabella's limit power belongs to the demon tribe, surprising Dorona. Then Basil announces some mishaps in the fight, and they would solve it in a moment. Inside the arena, Isabella had a demon appearance because she recovered a little of her true demon Queen limit power. When Penny saw Isabella, she was very scared, so she decided to escape, trying to destroy the barriers, but they restored quickly. Isabella starts using her power to kill her, but Yi appears, asking her to stop fighting, otherwise they would discover her true identity. Her fight was over anyways. Isabella tells him to give her orders, sending them both flying with just an aura. Isabella catches Penny by the air because she wanted to kill her. Yi hugs her and asks her not to kill her, otherwise she would attract unnecessary attention, but Isabella starts listening to a voice that tells her to kill Penny, so she was going to do it. In that moment, Yi tells her that Basil told him the truth about why she was moving away from him, and he promised that together they would go back to the demon tribe. When Isabella hears that, she starts to calm down, but she starts to listen to the demon queen's voice, saying that she shouldn't be depending on a human being, that she should kill them, also she wouldn't have any troubles on her way. Yi notices that he is losing her again. He tries to calm her, but she pushes him away to get close to Penny and kill her, but Yi stops her and kisses her to see if she can calm. The ring starts to activate, making Isabella remember everything they've been through. After that, Isabella calms down and blushed. She asked him why he was so imprudent and kissed a demon queen, but before he could answer, she ends up passing out for using so much power. Penny wanted to keep fighting, and Yi was afraid because he forgot his magic brush, but Basil appears and knocked Penny out to calm her. Yi asks him if the others suspect after seeing Isabella's power, and he suggests him to get away from Isabella for a time because he needed to clear any of the other people's doubt to guarantees Isabella's safety. Then Basil gets rid of the barriers, saying that the fight was over and introducing the fight of Renz against Ixa. But Ixa surrenders because she doesn't want Renz to kill her with one attack, since Eli could not fight anymore and Isabella broke some rules. They announce that the finals will be between Renz from the magic branch against Yi from the forging branch. This gets everyone excited because they wanted to watch that fight. Later on in the kingdom dungeons, Isabella were being interrogated by the soldiers. She said that she learned the limit power in the demon tribe when she was a slave, but they won't believe her because demons' limit powers are a thing of their own. Then Basil appears and says that a human being can have the same limit power as the demons, since both powers are identical, but each tribe develops it differently. The scared soldiers asks why the director is in the kingdom's dungeons, and Basil says that he is there because he doesn't want his students to be treated horribly, scaring the soldiers. On the other hand, Penny was being interrogated as well, but she didn't say a word, making the soldiers angry, who were about to use the force against her. But Sato appears, and once he is alone with her, he apologizes, calling her Princess Penny. On the other hand, Yi went to visit their injured friends. Moto asked him if Isabella won the fight, and he says that she was disqualified for using demon power limit, just as Penny, who used beast limit power. He also says that his next opponent will be Renz, scaring everyone else because Yi decided not to surrender. Eli asks if he is ready for when Renz uses his dragon from, which will make him even more powerful than he already is. Yi says that he haven't thought thoroughly, but the only thing he knows is that he has to win once out of the infirmary. He hears some people making fun of him because they think he would not be able to beat Renz. Before we continue with the video, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. That's the best way to help the channel keep growing and bringing you guys the next part of this manhua. Then he goes to pay a visit to Martin, and he asks him if he would be able to beat Renz, and Martin, with a smile on his face, says that not in the past, but the current Yi could definitely beat him. The next day the fight begins. Sophises announces the winner's rewards, which will be 1,000 gold coins and the rank of commander. Before the fight begins, Renz suggests the king that the fight should end once one of them end up dead. The king accepts since Basil also wanted to see that, so the order is that nobody must intervene in that fight until one of them dies. When the fight begins, Renz tells Yi 3 reasons why he want to kill him, and the last one was because Yi didn't deserve to be married with Isabella because he considered him trash. But in that moment Yi take out the lunar stone Martin gave him, and when seeing that Renz was in love with Isabella, He told him that she was her woman. Renz was angry and locked him inside some rocks and setting the surrounding on fire, but Xiang Yi gets out of it creating a mecha. Renz throws another attack, but Xiang Yi reflects it since his armor is made out of useless wood. He approaches fast to Renz to hit him, but Renz dodges it very easily. Xiang Yi keeps attacking him, but Renz protects himself with a barrier, but suddenly behind him some little bombs appear, which end up exploding. Renz was injured, and Xiang Yi takes the opportunity to cut him in half, but it was just a water clone which gets bigger, catching the mecha. Renz plans to crush him, but since the mecha was made out of useless wood, he couldn't, so he rather opt to drown him. Getting the water inside the mecha, with no other option, Xiang Yi gets out of the mecha and being vulnerable for Ren's attacks, but Xiang Yi stops him using Ix's ice magic. We see Xiang Yi with an armor called Magic Knight which he easily created because with the lunar stone, everything that he thinks about just appears before him. When Renz notices that he wanted to beat him with magic, tries to lock him out again, but Xiang Yi manages to escape and to get close to Ren's body since he thinks that mages are weak in melee close combat, but Renz hit him with a blow and sends him flying. Xiang Yi rushes towards him to hit him, but Renz protects himself and start making fun of him, but this time he strikes with more strength and Xiang Yi hit him in the face. That made Renz angry, sending Xiang Yi flying with his high-level magic, and he creates a water sword which he starts hitting him with, but it was just a distraction because some kind of hand starts to appear from the ground, grabbing Xiang Yi, who tries to escape making them explode, but they regenerate so fast. Renz creates an elemental explosion which was a super-level magic. And he starts attacking him with it, making it very difficult for Xiang Yi. Renz start throwing many water swords, surprising everyone because any normal person should be dead by now. Xiang Yi was having a very bad time inside the mecha because the attacks were pretty strong, but with all that he manages to gather data so he could make his next move. Renz feels that the temperature is elevating so he creates a barrier and says that elemental magic is useless since he can cancel it. When Xiang Yi is ready he shoots a powerful laser, surprising everyone because he took that one from Feli, but Basil is asking why there is no magic aura. In the arena, Xiang Yi escapes from the rock hands while Renz was distracted since he was injured by the laser, making him angrier than he already was. Renz prepares another attack called Destruction Hurricane, which was world-level magic. Surprising Xiang Yi because there was more levels of magic, Xiang Yi uses the laser, but this time it doesn't work since Renz protects himself with the hurricanes. Renz prepares an attack to kill him with precision. The rock hand starts to appear once more, making Xiang Yi escape. Because if they catch him again he would be done for. The hands end up grabbing him since they were faster. Then Renz throws the hurricanes, making them impact Xiang Yi's armor, who was having a bad time inside it. Renz starts taking a crazy personality, making fun of Xiang Yi for not being able to stand up. In that moment we can see Ren's past, who had a powerful right eye named Magic Iris. This eye could absorb any kind of magic. Not being able to control it, Renz had to get away from his family. There were only a few people who had that eye because of its power, so those people were considered a threat to the lineage of the royal family. One day the general ordered to kill everyone with that eye, but Renz saved because they had compassion. Although being from the royal family, his life was miserable and full of hatred, but then these two arrived. Acis's master, who was Basil, tell her to take her of Renz. She gets close to him, but Renz says that she should step away because his eye could absorb her magic, but Acis doesn't care because she has a lot of magic power and helps him to calm his eye down, promising him that he wasn't alone anymore. Going back to the arena, Xiang Yi tries to stop the hurricanes with magic dragons, but they don't work because Renz absorbed them with his eye, but he couldn't control that eye very well yet, being able to activate it only for 15 minutes. Once he activates that right eye, his capabilities increases to the infinite. On the other hand, Xiang Yi was going to fight with him face to face using his laser's maximum power, but his condensers starts to fail because they overcharged, making Renz laugh harder and increasing his magic powers to the hurricanes. Xiang Yi couldn't keep up anymore because his body was at the limit. In that moment he sees dome people getting into the festival to watch his fight. Isabella, who cheers him telling him not to forget the promise of getting back together, making Xiang Yi happy for what she said. Renz gets angry seeing that Isabella is supporting Xiang Yi, so he tries to kill him so she could see that he was stronger and better than Xiang Yi, but he manages to escape from the hurricanes with the help of the mecha, so then he could start hitting him, and those strikes made more damage than before. Xiang Yi was in pain And surprised because those hurricanes managed to dent his armor made of useless wood. When seeing that Renz was busy fighting the mecha, he takes out some experimental blueprints, a very powerful ones, but he was afraid to use them because he didn't know if he could control the damage that might cause. Xiang Yi tell Renz to use his dragon form since he is going to defeat him. In front of everyone, Renz captures the mecha easily after hearing that, and angry he says that he would not use his dragon form since he was too weak for him. Xiang Yi creates a nuclear weapon from the experimental blueprints that goes by the name of Nuclear Hawkeye, which he attacks Renz with, and he activates a world-level barrier that goes by the name of Holy Angel. Xiang Yi's attack creates a dome surrounding Renz, and after that the attack ends up exploding inside the dome. This created a strong wave of light that even Eli and Moto could feel being so far away from the arena, and inside the arena everybody else was saved because of Basil's magic. The public gets scared when noticing that the whole arena was destroyed by an enormous fireball that was floating over, surprising even the masters. Sophisis is very happy to see Xiang Yi's big progress, because if he joins the White Dragon Knights, they would be so much stronger. In the arena we can see Xiang Yi, who had to cover from his own attack, but he got damaged anyways, and after seeing the ball of fire, he was happy because before that he created a barrier surrounding the fire so its energy couldn't escape. After that, the fireball is absorbed by Renz, making the barrier smaller. Where we can see lava coming from it, everybody is in shock, and they see a devil, a spirit of fire. And after eating a big part of the fireball he goes, and from the lava Renz comes out, who activated his dragon form to protect himself. Asus is surprised to see that the terrestrial dragon form had evolved when being in danger. With no time to lose, Renz uses the lava to attack Xiang Yi, who manages to dodge it, but his armor was starting to fail, and Renz took advantage of it and sends him to the floor with a single strike, but he could protect himself thanks to a barrier. Xiang Yi tries to use his brush, but Renz steps on his hand and then starts stepping on him to the death. With that, Renz wanted to show everyone that Xiang Yi was weak. Xiang Yi starts to laugh at him, saying on the outside he seemed easy, but on the inside he just wanted to draw the attention of the people surrounding him. He says that he shouldn't wish others' wives and that the other event had been decided with Xiang Yi's victory. Renz was going to kill him to shout his mouth. Isabella wanted to intervene, but Xiang Yi cuts his arm with the laser, surprising everyone with what he just did. After that, his armor completely runs out of power, and Renz was very angry for what he did, so he was about to use of his limit power to kill him. Renz attacks, but his body starts to behave weirdly. Xiang Yi says that his senses will start failing until his last cell dies. After losing his sight, Renz asked Xiang Yi what was happening because he couldn't see but he could hear voices. Xiang Yi explains that when he absorbed the explosion he already knew he had won, because all the symptoms he was feeling were because of radiation. In this part, what I understood was that when Xiang Yi created that big explosion, Ren's DNA code was bombarded by the nuclear core, causing irreversible damage. Renz start bleeding everywhere, and Asus was going to help him, but Basil stops her because Renz must experiment his own difficulties. Renz starts screaming in pain, and Xiang Yi tells him to surrender, but in that moment Ren's body start to wrinkle, turning into something really ugly. Even so, Renz gets up to keep fighting. He didn't want to lose against Xiang Yi since it would be shameful. Xiang Yi was angry, so he hits him to end it once and for all, surprising everyone. He defeated Renz, leaving him at the edge of death. Sophisis enters the arena. He was happy, and he announces that Xiang Yi was the winner. Everyone was happy because no one expected that result. Asus asked Basil to cure Renz, but he says that it would be very difficult because he never saw something like that, but he promised that he would find the cure. On the other hand, Xiang Yi ends up passing out. He was exhausted. Isabella catches him and thanks him for keeping the promise. Martin was very happy because despite always finishing last in the former events, they could win one with the help of Xiang Yi. In that moment the king arrives and hands over the trophy to Martin, making everyone in the forging branch happy. In the night, everyone was looking for a cure for Renz, but they didn't know how. Also, Renz was getting worse, so Basil gets out a very powerful stone, a stone known as the Development Stone, which was the artifact that built the world and all living creatures. They use it on Renz to try to cure him. Basil says that he saved his life with that, but he would have to live with all the imperfections. Asus asks how is it possible that this stone had so much power, and Basil says that he will tell her in the future. Renz wakes up but he wanted to kill Xiang Yi, and Asus calms him, hitting him, saying that the fight was over and Xiang Yi won. He was sad because besides he lost the fight, He now has imperfections all over his body. On the other hand, Xiang Yi wakes up and realizes that he is with all of his friends who wanted to celebrate for winning the festival. Moto, on the other hand, was sad because Xiang Yi was healed by the master from the pastoral branch called Yelena, and he was healed by a man not very masculine. While they were talking, they were interrupted by Isabella, who asks them to leave the room so she could give Xiang Yi his food, so with no other choice they decide to go. Xiang Yi tells her that she should be Dorona's room because it is too late, but Isabella says that she came back to live with him in the room. When Xiang Yi hears that, he gets so happy, and then Isabella gives him the food she made for him, which looked pretty bad, but Xiang Yi eats it anyways. Then they start talking about what they will do after getting the rank of commander. Isabella suggests to go back to the demon tribe, but Xiang Yi asks how would they do to defeat Lillian's army, so they decide that Isabella should recover all of her power to be able to fight, but Isabella's recovering rate was slow, but thanks to Dorona's teaching, she could increase her limit power incredibly. She could also recover faster because her demon core had activated again. Xiang Yi asks her what that was, and she explains everything since the beginning. She explains that everyone who has a limit power have something known as source, and that the core that shapes the limit power. But the demon core was a separated entity, and the demon queen was the only one who has it, since she is the demon's leader. Then she tells the legend that says that the god of creation's blood flows through the veins of the demon's rulers, and the demon's tribe was established by Isabella's ancestors who conquered other tribes. Xiang Yi gets surprised because that's the reason why demons are stronger than humans. Isabella tells that there is a problem, and that is when her demon core activated, she felt someone else inside, and that other personality was the evil demon queen. And that's how the second part of this manhwa ends. Well guys, if you like this video and you want a part 3, comment below with the word wife. Also subscribe to the channel, hit the bell and like the video, but most important, leave a comment. Until the next video.